He followed me home. A true story, told for Crimson Shadows. Some places feel abandoned long before they're empty. My grandmother owns a small piece of land, quiet, rural, and still. On it sits an old trailer, weathered by years of sun and rain, and behind it, a barn. The barn is old, not charming old, not rustic, the kind of old that feels forgotten on purpose. It's used for storage now, antique furniture, rusted tools, cardboard boxes stacked with the remnants of a life that ended when my grandfather passed away. Things no one has touched in years. Things no one really wants to go through. One afternoon, my grandmother asked me to retrieve something from inside. Just a box, nothing important. I remember hesitating before I even reached the door. The barn stood silent, its wooden boards darkened with age, the metal hinges groaning as I pulled the door open. The air inside felt wrong, cooler than it should have been, heavy, like the darkness itself had weight. The light from outside barely reached past the threshold, and the moment I stepped inside, I felt it. That unmistakable sensation, the feeling of being watched. I paused, listened. Nothing moved. No animals, no insects, no wind slipping through the cracks. Just silence. I told myself it was my imagination, that old buildings always feel unsettling, that grief clings to places where people once lived. I took a few more steps inside. Every sound I made echoed, my boots against the dirt floor, the faint rustle of fabric as I moved past stacked furniture. Shadows stretched unnaturally along the walls, bending in ways that didn't quite match the light. I found the box my grandmother had described and knelt down to open it. That's when something brushed against my arm. Not a spider web, not a bug, not a stray piece of fabric. It was deliberate. I jerked upright, heart pounding, scanning the space around me. Nothing was there. I stood completely still, listening for movement, for breathing, for anything. That's when I felt it again. A breath. Warm. Close. Right against the back of my neck. Every hair on my arm stood on end. My stomach dropped so suddenly it made me dizzy. Before I could react, something pressed against my back. Not hard, not forceful, just enough to let me know I wasn't alone. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I froze. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to leave. So I did. I backed out of the barn without turning around, leaving the box exactly where it was. The door slammed shut behind me louder than it should have, echoing across the empty land. I didn't go back. That night, I felt wrong, drained, heavy, like something had settled onto my shoulders and refused to let go. I went to bed exhausted, but sleep didn't come easily. When it finally did, I dreamed. In the dream, a man was following me. I never saw his face, only his shape, tall and indistinct, always just behind me no matter how fast I walked. I woke suddenly, heart racing, and that's when I saw him. A shadow figure stood in the corner of my room. Not solid, not completely dark, just there. Watching. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I watched as the figure shifted, turned, and slowly faded into nothing. The next day I tried to explain it away. Sleep paralysis, stress, an overactive imagination. But the sound started. Footsteps where no one stood. Soft movement in empty rooms. The quiet creak of something being adjusted, just out of sight. I never saw anything during the day. At night, though, every night for a week I woke up to the same thing. The shadow man stood in the corner of my room. Never closer, never farther. just watching. I could feel his attention like pressure against my skin, like he was waiting for something. On the final night, I woke abruptly, that instinctive jolt that tells you something is wrong before your mind catches up. He was standing beside my bed, closer than ever. I sat up, staring at him, and I don't know why, but I spoke. Out loud. I told him it was not okay to enter someone's home uninvited, that he wasn't welcome, that whatever or whomever he was, he needed to leave. The room felt tense, like the air itself was holding its breath. The shadow didn't move. Eventually it faded. Slower this time. The next day I smudged my house. Every room, every doorway. I never saw him again. But even now, sometimes when the room goes quiet, when the air feels just a little too still, it feels like he's still watching. From somewhere I can't see.